Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca. We do a lot about books here, but also some lifestyle things and just fun in life. I wanted to start a reading vlog because I just felt like it. And my last reading vlog was like 2021 and in May, so it's like ages ago. I've only done one on this channel so far, so I figured it was time to do another reading vlog. I already started the book and I'm already actually halfway through the first book in this reading vlog, which is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This book kind of inspired me to do a reading vlog because I have been in this hole called master thesis and lab work for a whole year, and so I just wanted to like start up with reading again. I got this in my book of the month package and I kind of just liked the cover. I was like, hey cool, this looks like a really nice cover, so I'm going to start with this book. I have now since realized that this is obviously a very hyped book and like very well reviewed and 5 stars and was book of the year with book of the month, so obviously really good. I'm kind of like, okay, now I know why. But I didn't realize this until after I actually started reading it, and now I'm already halfway through because it sucked me in. I think I'm gonna talk about it later though. I just wanted to say hi to you guys because I do need to get some work done now. I usually read in the morning, so it's like 9:30 now and I need to get started, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, hello, I am back and I'm about to meet my oldest friend's baby, and I'm really excited because I haven't been able to meet him because I couldn't go to Berlin because I was sucked up in lab, and it's just, so sad. I figured I already got everything ready because I'm super excited, so now while I'm waiting for her to tell me where she parked, I'm just gonna talk to you guys. But this was the first book that inspired me to annotate something again, and so I thought, you know what, if a book really inspires me that much to actually make my first annotation in like a year, then I should maybe give it some more screen time. The idea behind this book is that it's 2 best friends. They met as children in a children's hospital, and they both love games. And they become estranged for a while, and then they find each other again, and they start designing games together. And their first game is like an instant hit. They get rich, they have their own company, you know, super success story. And then they do more and more games together, and then all kinds of things happen. You know, I'm only halfway through, but I feel like I've already read 1 or 2 books because this book is so dense, but at the same time, it's not rushing through anything. I feel like that's a really hard thing to do, to keep a book that's like well paced and there's a lot of stuff happening, but then at the same time, you don't feel like you're being rushed. You fully understand their emotions. And the way the author describes the emotions, it actually feels really real and really relatable. I don't know, it could be a way that I would think of my emotions or what I'm thinking about and how I could interact. And you really feel like these people are real and you want to meddle. You're like, come on. The 2 protagonists, Sadie and Sam, they have really a wonderful relationship that I'm just very much enjoying. They are not romantically involved, at least up until this point. Who knows what's coming? They really truly have a wonderful friendship that I am so much enjoying through these stories. The other thing that I like about this book is that it's like in the 90s, right? So they are young adults in the 90s, and I've been thinking a lot lately about like 90s feminism versus like 2020 feminism and what that looks like. My friend is here. So more on the feminism and 90s feminism versus 2020 feminism later. Now I'm gonna go meet a baby. I think when I left off in this vlog, I was talking about different kinds of feminism because, yes, our mothers in the 90s grew up with this like feminism of I can do everything. I mean, I'm just basing this on my mom, so I'm assuming that it was the same for a lot of other mothers because like my mom wasn't like, I don't think, super unique in her role. I think, of course, that she is a uniquely wonderful mother, but I'm just saying that I think she was typical for her time in the sense of like what her role was domestically and at work. She worked full time, but she also pretty much did all of the care work at home. And that was basically because my dad worked somewhere else, so he always worked in a different city, and because of that, he was never with us during the week. He always had like a second apartment and then would come home on the weekend. So I had like a childminder during the day that I went to. She's my grandma for me. She's like a grandma figure, so to this day I call her my grandma. And in the evenings and in the mornings, my mom basically just took care of me by herself, and on the weekend my dad and I really did stuff together, but it was usually the 3 of us, so it was never really me and my dad by ourselves. It was always like the 3 of us that did stuff as a family. And like, I'm not criticizing this at all, because for us it really worked and I felt really loved at home and cherished, and I feel like we had a lot of quality time when I was little. Mostly I think because my parents were really mindful of like spending a great time together on the weekend, so we usually had something planned, we always had something fun. But like looking back, I can't really remember my dad like ever vacuuming or anything, or ever cleaning. He's not a dirty person or anything. Like, he does clean up after himself in the kitchen, and my parents to this day happily married but have separate residences. The women in the 90s were like, yeah, they were entering new spaces, they were in different workplaces where they hadn't been before, or the generations before weren't allowed in there. However, like, everyone around them still didn't know how to behave. It was so new that a woman was there, and they grew up in this world that was just so sexist that the stuff that they do and said like all the time was pretty sexist. Where I grew up here in Germany, it was still fairly conservative because we lived in like a really small town, and my mom was actually judged very harshly for actually being a working mom. I'm not so sure if that would have been the same in the States. I'm sure that has more to do with like the dynamics of living out in the boonies and being in a city. I'm very sure that there's a difference between the two. Criticized, and at the same time she took on like all of these different roles, and then I'm sure at work she had like a lot of issues with people being weird to her or weird about her. And I feel like this is kind of very well reflected in the book, because I feel like nowadays it's fairly normal to have female colleagues, to have a female boss, maybe feel like you're a little safer at work. I mean, I think there's still enough sexism to go around in workspaces, but we're just more mindful of it, and I hope that we kind of take less shit. And also when we're at home, like my boyfriend and I, we do everything 50-50. Like, he has the vacuum in his hand all the time. Back then, it was just like the men were okay, they were happy with their wives, that they would work, but they kind of still didn't do 50-50 on the household, and not really 50-50 on childcare. And I feel like this book kind of reflects that, because the main character, you can just see like all of this sexism around her, and like all of these weird power dynamics and weird relationships that she had with her professor, who she then has a relationship with that just goes completely out of hand. I don't know, I completely understand her reasoning, but at the same time you have insight into like her male colleagues around her, and you kind of understand that they just didn't have a feeling for some things, or they were just like not sensitive about a certain topic at all. And so that's really fascinating to me to see, okay, because this book plays kind of like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and it's like, yeah, I can really see this happening. Versus 2020, feminism is very different, and hopefully is also going in the direction of being like more inclusive of different marginalized people, because feminism should of course work for Black women, for Asian women, for all kinds of different ethnicities, and not just white women, which has like been the main focus up until now. So super interesting, and I've just had so much fun exploring this book. Seriously, like, it's just been so real. I've been annotating so many things in so many different parts, and it's like so much happens, but it's not so super dramatic, yeah, that you feel used as a reader or abused. So much happens and you just were like, what's gonna come next? Like, I seriously have no idea where the story is going to go. No idea where it's gonna go. However, I have to edit my video for Sunday for my main channel, so I can't read just yet. I'm gonna edit and then we're gonna read. So I'm back here with you today. It's Sunday morning. I'm having my relaxed little Sunday morning and I'm reading. I am now on page 285 from, I think it's like 400 pages, so 397. So we're getting through this book fairly quickly. And what I find amazing about this book is that really truly the author is so good at like making these characters' emotions feel so real. I feel so attached to these people and what they're thinking and feeling, because I feel like it's real emotions, you know? There's this one scene also where one of the main characters, Sam, goes to the dog park with his dog, and everyone thinks this dog is a coyote, and it's just so amazing that this woman, or that he just has this one line in this book. Let me just find it for you. And this woman mistakes his dog for a coyote and then like yells like, hey, everyone get out of here, and you shouldn't bring a dog that looks like a coyote to the park, asshole. And he gets really angry, and when he's, you know, telling the story to Sadie, anyone who had truly looked at Tuesday could not have possibly seen a coyote, but the woman had not truly looked, and the injustice of this hits him. Why was it acceptable for apparently well-meaning people to see the world in such a general way? That just really resonated with me because my boyfriend and I really often talk a lot about how people see the world or how many podcasts are even reasonable to exist out there, because people aren't really willing to do the research on a lot of topics, and then so many things get like blown out of proportion or just talked about so generally because we live in this world of like every opinion matters. And I am of the opinion that every opinion matters, but if you can't give a well-researched opinion, or if you're, I don't know, skewing topics into one or the other direction, I don't like that. And yeah, you're viewing the world in such a general way. And the author of this book just does such a wonderful job of also bringing symbolism into this book. And then very often I wonder if like authors like think about symbolism and then actively put things in there that are symbols, or if they accidentally, or if they're just such good writers. You know, sometimes writers are just so good that they like accidentally put in symbols in the book. Right after he's having these moments and thinking about things that I'm not going to spoil for you, he finds something that him and his mother were talking about at the very beginning of this book, and it was also like, it's cool, that's such a symbol to like find an alternate path. So why am I talking to you right now? Right now, something really bad just happened, and I felt like I had to pick up the camera just a minute and give you an update on this. And yeah, something really bad just happened. I'm really worried. Like, I'm so worried for the characters. I really truly hope that nothing happened to one of them, some of them. I can't spoil it for you, but so let's keep reading. Let's see how much time I still have to read today, because you have stuff to do, life gets in the way, and so you can't read the books as quickly as you might want to. Because it is in the middle of the night. I think my jet lag got the best of me and I cannot sleep for the life of me, but my boyfriend is asleep in the bedroom, so I'm up here